How do you feel about games that make you die? Like dying is a part of the gameplay.
That can be exciting if it's done well.
Well, how do you think they can do it well? Do you have anything in mind about a game that you've played maybe? Maybe not by name, just how would they do that well?
If it's part of the story, or if it's a roguelike or rogue-lite, whichever is the correct vernacular now, where you get better by going and dying. I'm not talking necessarily about like the Dark Souls type of dying, because in theory you could get through that whole game without dying once and you would not be worse off for it. But there's a lot of games where you have to die in order to improve yourself. So maybe Lost Castle or any of those kind of types of games where dying is really important. There's a game as well, I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's all about like having a kingdom, and you get like 10 decisions per king, and then that king dies and his family takes over. So in that kind of way, I think that death can be a really good part of a game.
Well, that's exactly what this is doing. It's actually like space dogfighting. It's a space fighter, but it is a roguelike at the same time. So it's a really unique combination of those two types of games. Hey guys, this is Brax.
And this is Moriarty.
And this is Everspace, and it does exactly that. You go out on a run, and you try to survive as long as you can, but when you inevitably die, you have to start over from the beginning. But like you mentioned, it's about improving yourself, right? And this game does a really good job with that, so it is a nice mixture of roguelike and space shooter, because every time you go back, it is fun to improve your ship. You get to change a weapon, or you can increase the damage you can take. And every time that you go back out, you don't really feel angry about dying, because you feel like, okay, I'm going to do better this time. And I think that's the right way to do it.
If you're going to have death in your game, and it's going to be a required thing that you die, I think that's a lot better than taking the, I don't know, Dark Souls kind of way, where you just die, and now you have to go get your stuff again.
Yeah, that's true. It isn't the same thing as like reviving yourself, like you show up in the graveyard in World of Warcraft and go to your body and you pick yourself back up. This isn't like that, because you're just going to start all the way over. You make these really cool jumps, and that's one of the things that I thought was so awesome about the game. Graphically, it feels so immersive. Everything is so pretty, and it really feels like you're in space. Like I felt like I was Boba Fett or something flying around in this thing. And like I said, even though you die, you're kind of okay with it. And that's rare in a game for me, because if I die, normally I get frustrated, right? But this is built in a way that continues to make you want to go again and go into that run a little bit deeper. Because each time that you make it through one area, the game rewards you by letting you choose where you want to go next. And there's even ways you can get upgrades where you can have an idea like how many enemies are going to be in the next area. And you can make that decision and feel like, okay, I'm doing this the smart way this time. And then you get to do a jump warp to an entirely different sector, and then it's a change of environment. I just like the way that they make it feel like it's progressive, even though you're starting over the entire time.
Now, when you say you're starting over, does the universe continue? Are you a different pilot every time? Or is it truly you're starting over from the beginning of the game?
You start over from the beginning of the maps, is the way I would describe it, from the first sector. But each run is unique, because this guy that talks to you in your radio will tell you stuff that's going on, and it's different. These runs aren't the same every time by any means. You're giving different objectives and different goals. And eventually, once you make it past a point and you get to the next sector, it even continues the story. And then you figure out more about your backstory, and you get introduced to new characters. So it's taking something that seems like, okay, I'm going to start over from the beginning every time, but it's really not. It's a continuation. It's just taking you longer to grind it out and get to that next stage.
What I meant by does the universe continue is, are you a different character in the same universe?
No, you're the same guy throughout the game. You can change your ship, and they have different ships, and some of them are nicer than others, and you can build those up and upgrade them, but you're still the same guy the entire time.
Okay, I understand better now.
And even the main character that you play, when you get back in and you start a new run, sometimes he'll say something like, this time I'm really gonna make it. So it lets you know that, yeah, you're the same guy, but you're just trying to make it to the next part.
So this is a little bit like that Tom Cruise flick, Edge of Tomorrow. Or what did they change it to? Kill, Die, Kill or something? They changed the name.
They did?
Yeah, it's called like Kill, Die, Kill or Death, Kill, Deathy. Something very morose.
Did they do that after it was in theaters? Because when it was released, it was called Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, they did that once it came out onto DVD because apparently they thought Edge of Tomorrow was just too confusing. So it's like Kill, Die, Repeat or Kill, Death, Murder.
Yeah, they tried to take what happens in the movie and just say it like kill, die, repeat. So
yeah, it's something like that. But you're saying it's sort of like that. Does he know that he's died?
Actually, I don't know. I don't think they made it clear at the beginning of the game whether or not he was aware that he was dying. There were a couple of cutscenes, not going to lie. I didn't really pay that much attention to them. The art style looked okay, and I'm not saying it's a bad story, but I was more involved with the gameplay than I was the story, for sure.
That's okay. I mean, there's plenty of games where the story just meh. There's lots of very meh storylines.
Yeah, it didn't draw me in, and it didn't make me invest in it, because it's a game that has a lot of stuff going on, and it takes a while just listening to your instructor, or whatever he is, on your radio to explain to you how to do everything. Like, you need to find fuel so you don't die. You need to find pickups so you don't die. And you have to change weapons constantly because different enemies have different weaknesses. And trying to master all of that and figure out the UI, I had lost track of the story like 10 minutes in.
Gotcha. Well, that's okay. Not every game can be Half-Life.
That's true. That's true. Not everyone can hook you like that.
I agree. So how much is this game?
This game is $29.99 on Steam, which is a little pricey for me. I thought, although you do get a lot of gameplay out of it. You're going to start over and you're going to play this and play this and play this because it is grindy. And I'm a grindy game type of person. Like when I play games that are about improving and upgrades, I'm obviously going to spend a lot of time in it because if I enjoy the gameplay, then I'm already having fun, and then I get hooked so easily by those games that always give me loot or give me a reason to keep playing. So $29.99 for a game like this that is visually impressive. The gameplay is solid, although I do enjoy playing it in third person more than first, because in first person, I don't like how some flight shooters like this make the cursor independently moved, but the ship is moved differently. Does that make sense to you, what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, I'm using the mouse to move the cursor around to shoot at stuff while I'm also controlling the ship, and they feel disconnected. And this one is okay in third person if you play it like that, but in first person, it was too much. Everything felt discombobulated, and it was really annoying. But that was the only complaint I had about the gameplay, to be honest.
No, I get it. I get it. So, you liked the TIE Fighter versus X-Wings version of this game?
Absolutely. That's what I enjoyed about it the most.
Cool.
Is space combat.
No, I get that. That's very cool. Now, did you use a controller or mouse and keyboard, or did you go out and buy yourself a POTUS?
I actually tried both, mouse and keyboard and a controller, and surprisingly, I preferred mouse and keyboard on this one. And as you know, and our viewers know, I am more of a controller fan on most games like this, but for this one I felt like it requires the amount of control that the mouse gives you. I even had to turn down the sensitivity while I was playing it because the mouse was so precise, so I turned it down a little bit.
Fair enough. I usually turn down my settings too, but that's kind of something I learned from Counter-Strike because it allows you to be more accurate. I don't need to do a 720 every time I turn my mouse a little bit, so I have become a low sensitivity player.
Yeah, I certainly was in this one, and it's related to what I said about playing in first person or third. If I was going to play it in first, there's no way I could play on regular sensitivity. I had to turn it down. And it helped even more when I backed that out into the third-person view.
Well, $30 does seem like a lot of money for a game that you didn't even know there was a story, but it does seem like it's a lot of fun. After just coming off of Eve Valkyrie, I'm kind of getting into the space shooters again, and I'm really enjoying the dogfighting. I like that this is an attractive-looking game that seems pretty simple, but I'm always going to want more. For me, when I get into these kind of games, I want to be able to fly from system to system and do some light trading like space trader type stuff. I want to get in there and I want to be able to do the freelancer-esque type of thing. And after the game we reviewed previously, Freeman Star Edge didn't hit its Kickstarter goal. It probably isn't going to be made. So I don't know, maybe I'm alone in this and nobody else wants to do the space trader, visit the surface kind of stuff. You know, No Man's Sky, but actually No Man's Sky.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on that. This game does not have as much open world stuff as they could have incorporated, because you do collect money and you have currency, but the only opportunity to spend it that I saw was when you die and you go back to the shop, you just spend it on upgrades for your ship, and that's as much as you can really do with your money. If this had more open world stuff, and if the map was more complicated than just going from one part of the sector to the next, and then going to these jump points that carry you to the next area, then maybe it would give more depth and more stuff to do.
Totally. I just don't think this is a game that I would recommend, simply because I think that if you're talking about a space dogfighter, there are probably better space dogfighters out there if you're paying $30 for a game. And that's double A prices at that point. That's a pretty hefty price tag from a game that comes from a developer that hasn't really done anything else. This isn't somebody who's got a whole bunch of everything. This is a single developer. They just made this game. That's all they've ever made. Now, one of the things that I think is pretty interesting about this is that this game is also available in VR.
That is interesting, because you made the comparison with Eve Valkyrie Warzone, and it's really unfortunate that they're not going to actually be finishing that one for VR, so maybe this could be a replacement, but I want to make it clear that I don't think this game is as good as Eve Valkyrie. And I think they are the same price. So if I were to pick between this and Eve Valkyrie for a space fighter, I would pick Eve for sure.
Yeah. If they decide to build this out a little bit more and they make it a really good dogfight simulator, then hey, maybe this will be the replacement for us VR players who really enjoyed the Eve VR gameplay. And I really did. I thought it was one of the coolest, prettiest games. But when I'm comparing this to that, I don't see the comparison. It's a similar style of game, and it's reasonably attractive, but Eve is gorgeous, and it's incredibly fun, and it also has that huge backstory, and it's got the developer who's made a lot of games and worked on a lot of stuff, and, you know, will continue to support something. Haha, no they didn't, but anyways. With this, you're talking about a single developer who's made a single game, and they're charging quite a lot of money for it when it is essentially just that game already. And there's expansions and all kind of stuff, so I'm just not sure that you're getting your full value out of this. So for me, this is going to definitely be a not recommended.
Because of the price, I won't recommend it, and especially because, like I just said, you can have Eve Valkyrie for the same price. I would go get it instead. If they do make this into VR though, maybe people will try it out because it will have something at that point that Eve doesn't now. But if you guys are interested in this game, you should definitely check it out on Steam. And if you enjoyed this video, you should watch some more of our videos. This has been Brax.
And Moriarty.
And we'll see you guys on the next one.